What's up everybody? In addition to the new hero Baptiste and the many hero balance changes which are currently on PTR, it turns out that there was an additional, very subtle map change made to the Numbani airport which serves as the attacker's first spawn room. What was previously a travel poster advertising the Temple of Anubis has now been updated to show Havana, Cuba. Could Havana possibly be a new upcoming map? And furthermore, could it even possibly be linked to the 2019 Archives event? This is Master Ian Gamer, and let's get into it. Now, right off the bat, the first thing that I'm sure a lot of people are going to consider is the possible connection between Havana and Baptiste. After all, Baptiste hails from Haiti, and both Cuba and Haiti are part of the Caribbean, so it does seem like there could quite possibly be a connection there. Not to mention the fact that they were both added to the PTR at the same time. Furthermore, we know that Baptiste was formerly a part of the Caribbean Coalition, which, judging by its name, we can assume likely operated in both Haiti and Cuba, and thus there's even more reason to suspect that Baptiste himself has likely been to Cuba and possibly even Havana specifically. And it's also worth noting that currently Baptiste doesn't seem to have any map to call home, which is actually quite unique for Overwatch's post-release heroes. Aside from Baptiste, the only other post-launch hero who is released without having a connection to an existing map was Brigitte. But even for her, you could technically argue that she's linked to Eichenwald, sort of vicariously through Reinhardt. So I would say that Baptiste himself is the most alienated of all the post-release heroes when it comes to having a map that they're connected to. It is possible that he is in fact connected to an existing map and we just don't know about the connection yet, but let's just assume for the time being that that probably isn't the case, and it would make more sense to give him a map that's linked to his nation of origin, or at least within the same area. However, I do have to say that this is all speculative, simply based off of the new hero we just got and this very subtle yet pretty interesting map update they made. The next thing though that I've seen a lot of people pointing out is the possibility of Havana being linked to the 2019 Archives event. Now, I did just upload a video earlier today actually where I was talking about the 2019 Archives event and discussing when we can expect it to start and what sort of skins and new PvE mission we might be getting with it. So if you haven't seen that video, you should definitely check it out through the cards on screen. But as for Havana, will it be the setting of this year's Archives mission? Well, yes, I think it could be, but I'm really not necessarily convinced. I mean, sure, I could definitely see a scenario where the new Archives PvE mission is linked to Baptiste, and if it has something to do with Talon trying to track him down after he deserted, then it would make sense for it to be set in a location like this. We know that he was positioned in Haiti, at least at the time of the teaser log we got, so I could easily see him having moved on to Havana at this point, and maybe that's where Talon is going to go to try to get him back. But at the same time, we are just looking at a poster advertising a location in the world. Yes, it was a clear and intentional change made by Blizzard at this very specific point in time, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's immediately linked to the next event we're having. If I'm being honest, them updating this poster reminds me quite a bit of a few other subtle map changes that people got all hyped about in the past. Namely, of course, the Lijiang Tower wheelchair. Now, I'm still convinced that this wheelchair does have some significance, and I'm actually in the middle of putting together a theory video where I delve into whose it is and why it's significant. No ETA on that just yet, but hopefully I can get it out pretty soon. However, this wheelchair was added more than a year ago at this point, and so far has yet to actually amount to anything. That doesn't mean that it won't eventually, but what I'm getting at is just because they made this change and updated the poster now doesn't mean we're going to necessarily see whatever payoff it ends up leading to in the near future. We might end up having to wait more than a year to get this Havana map if we ever actually get it at all. It's also entirely possible that they only made this change to just help flesh out the world a bit more, revolving around the most recently added hero. I mean, when you think about it, not only does Baptiste lack a map to call home, but he doesn't really have any major connections to the world aside from, well, being a part of Talon. But even then, we've never seen him referenced by any of the other Talon members. We never had any evidence that he existed whatsoever prior to the teasers building up to his reveal. Even with his former Talon connections, he does feel a little disconnected from the world as a whole. I mean, even Ashe, who's pretty notorious for being an inconsequential hero, does have a direct connection to both McCree and the Route 66 map. So what I'm getting at here is that it's possible they only added this poster to just give a little bit more reference to the Caribbean. Even if it doesn't end up becoming a map, having this poster here does make the world overall feel just slightly more connected, because we're starting to see this region, the Caribbean, get referenced in other locations. I admit, it's not a lot, and I would definitely love to see an actual map set here, especially if it can help to flesh out Baptiste as a hero. But when you compare it to other things like the Lijiang Tower wheelchair, or these wanted posters of Havana, which were added to Temple of Anubis a year ago, Blizzard does from time to time just make very subtle changes to maps which help flesh out the world building, but don't necessarily link to anything, at least not in the immediate future. And so because of that, again, yeah, I think it's possible that this is going to be the setting of the upcoming Archives mission, or at least come into play somehow, but I don't think it's necessarily likely. Don't forget, there still is the whole Paris ARG, which, again, may or may not exist. We don't really know if it's actually real yet at this point. So basically, I just want to encourage you guys to remain skeptical. Don't get your hopes up for this necessarily being the Archives mission, and don't get your hopes up for this even being the next map. We could very well see it as a new map, but there's no guarantee that it's going to be anytime soon. And with that, I think I rambled on long enough for today regarding this poster. Again, if you haven't already seen my video where I go much more in depth with what we can expect for the upcoming Archives event, be sure to check that video out through the cards on screen. But otherwise, let me know your thoughts about this updated poster on Numbani. Do you think this is in fact referencing a new map or possibly the Archives mission, or do you think it's just another small bit of world building to help draw more connections to Baptiste and his region of origin? Either way, be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video and share it with a friend if you really liked it. Subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and hit up the bell to never miss any of my future Overwatch content. This is Master Ian Gamer signing off, and until next time, have a great day.